All right, everybody, welcome back to a lifetime of conversations. Here we are again.
I'm Rob.
Yet again. I'm not telling you who I am. I'm anonymous.
Anonymous.
I am not Dave. Whatever.
Anonymous. We forgot to introduce ourselves last episode. Damn it.
I think if people don't know who we are at this point, since it says Dave and Rob on our title screen, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, why would we lie about that? Yeah. All right, so anyway, what's the topic today?
What are we topping?
I don't know.
So this touches home. This is like close to home and right in our wheelhouse, man. Mm-hmm. Tipping in America.
Oh, tipping.
I remember we mentioned it at one point, and we both have experience in this, let alone in life, in economics, and just we've dealt with it, one way or another, because it wasn't even just the restaurant business. Tipping is just in general. But I just kind of wanted to, touch base with it, see, talk about it a little bit. I don't think a lot of people who have never worked in the service industry for tips know even what it's like. They don't even understand. I don't think they comprehend what it's like.
Not at all.
Like how hard it can be at times to make an average pay or make the same money or just make good money, any money.
Well, my problem with tipping nowadays is that it's just become for everything.
Right.
Like, I mean, the guy over there makes my coffee. You hand it to me.
I know.
And now you have a fishbowl that says tips, and I'm supposed to give you money.
Or not even that.
Handed me a
Not
cup.
only that, there's a digital button for it. So it's easier now to just add the $1 or the 20 or the 18% on, I don't know, a smoothie.
Yeah, they flip around the iPad, and it says, basically, are you a piece of shit, yes or no?
Yeah.
So, I'll tip.
Yeah, well, so like some kind of social pressure. Yeah. When those people, they're getting a pay rate. They're not, okay. So just to sum it up, and this is more for the layman of anybody who doesn't understand, when you work as a waiter, a server in a restaurant, a bartender, usually that nature. It's usually that nature only.
Sure.
You make $2.13 an hour.
Well, that back in 1990.
No, some places are still $2.13.
Where?
Some of it now is $2.45.
I think it's $7.75 is the national.
Nope. Because you can look it up right now, and I can tell you
the last job I worked at, they were paying us like $6 and
that was their choice.
An hour. And then, like the next year, they found out that the government raised it, and they had to give us back pay. I got like an $800 check for back pay because they were paying me
okay,
too
so
low.
The way it works, it's called, for the most parts, and this is, again, because states can choose and make their own laws and rules.
Well,
it does differ very.
Florida's like 8 something an hour.
Now, that's still a choice, though, unless they're actual, because what a waiter makes is called sub-minimum wage. Okay, so the sub-minimum wage is generally between $2.13 an hour to $2.45 an hour, and people are like, "That's insane. How do you make that?" So the minimum wage is $7.25 federally, right? So no one can pay you less than that for a job that doesn't entitle tips. Now, the definition of a tipped worker is an employee engaged in an occupation in which they customarily and regularly receive more than $30 a month. $30 a month. Okay? Anybody who works for tips knows that you make that on one table or 2 tips, then you do it an entire fucking month. So it's kind of a ridiculous number. I think it's kind of lowballed. But that's the definition. And the definition is based off of regulations per state, per federal. But people always say, what happens to that $5 difference? So between the $7 and the $2, right? That $5 difference is called a tip credit. Now, I only learned of this when I was managing in restaurants, and I had to do payrolls. And the tip credit basically enables you to be protected that if you don't make enough tips to equal out to $7.25 an hour per your shift, that the employer has to make up the difference. Okay, very rare cases that it happens because we know most you make more.
Yeah, you make money. Right.
You generally make, if I were to guess, it's probably between $10.75 and $15 an hour.
Right.
And it's a big number because you never know the difference between a Friday and a Saturday night with a busy, good shift and a good location, section, or a Tuesday where it's kind of slow. Now, if there's only you and you've got more tables, yeah, you can make some good money, but there's usually not, right? So that's what that difference, I would say. But for the most part, that's it. That's because what is a tip? Like, what is it technically?
It's an appreciation for good service.
A gratuity, a gratitude. That's it. And that's the way it was. It used to be. Like, that's how it was. Why? And again, there are places that are more tip affiliated. Like one place I can say, New York. New York is like a tip capital.
Yeah, because
Like
everybody's
you tip the guy that holds the door open, and you're at the hotel. You tip the cab driver. You tip the Uber driver. You tip the pizza guy. You tip the what the fuck, man? Like I did more tipping in the night than I actually did. Yeah. Like if you sum it all up, like why did I tip this guy for holding the door? I could have just opened the fucking door.
It's that mafia mentality.
And number one, I know, right?
Anybody who's ever seen Goodfellas, hey, he'd tip him just for keeping the ice cubes
cold. And why the fuck is that door not automated at this point? Why isn't there a button that I can just push where you don't have to not only pay the guy to stand out there to open doors for people, but the door would just fucking open.
Dave, like, the doors are automated, but the guy standing in front of it breaks the thing, so he gets to open the door and get the $5
if he's
bills.
fucking smart, he does. Let me tell you.
He's like,
I don't know, boss. It keeps breaking on me.
Hey, man, this thing is a piece of shit over here.
But yeah, it started off as extra. Right. But normally before, people just got paid. But then the idea, I think, the tips got so great that they were getting more for the gratuities than they were for getting paid.
And the restaurant business is a nickel and dime business. You don't make a whole lot of money as a restaurant unless you buy the food at a low price and sell it at a high price. You have to pay your cooks, but your wait staff, if you paid them the same amount of money as you paid your cooks, you wouldn't make any money. So you kind of give them a few dollars an hour, and just pretty much count on them getting tipped. Right. And the only reason you give them that $2.13 an hour anyway, so when they get their paycheck, you could take that money and give it to the government for their taxes. That's why a lot of time your check is zero.
Even their taxes is based off of tips. Like
if you're honest when you declare them.
Well, we can go back 20 years ago. We got more cash than credit.
Right? Oh, way more. Yeah.
Can you hide cash easier than credit?
Sure.
Fuck yeah, you can. I mean, I'm $80 in cash. Oh, I made $30 in cash today. You can't prove that I didn't.
Yeah, I suck.
But if I made $50 in credit card tips, I made $50 in credit card tips. Yeah. I can't hide that. I have to claim that.
Sure.
So this kind of leads into it because nowadays you got to think like it's a less cash society. We have definitely diminished our use of cash in today's society by got to be more than 30 or 40%. Got to be. Mm-hmm. I don't even know the actual number, and it doesn't matter because just the sheer number of self-checkouts and and credit cards
and buying stuff on the internet.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You can't use cash on the internet.
You can't use cash. Like, you'd have to transfer cash into a card, which is initially not cash anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Can't be hidden. It is always a paper trail or now a digital trail. We use our phones to buy things, right? Mm-hmm. So, yes, society dictated that we shifted away from a cash business. And I have to be honest, I've been out. You're in the restaurant business a lot longer than I am. I've been out for over a decade, more than a decade. But I was working for tips in a certain way when I was at the gun range. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of tips. And most of the time it's because people do appreciate good safety and good showmanship as well as instruction when it comes to this. Is a little more of a serious thing. It's less than somebody bringing you your fucking Coke, than handing you a 9mm. But I still got a base rate. But it was shit base rate because they know we were making tips. Yeah. So they could afford to pay you less because if you were good, you made the tips anyway.
And if I'm selling somebody Coke, I'm definitely going to carry a 9mm.
Right. No, I meant a soda. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
pop for all you Minnesotans out there.
That's what I meant too. I'm a soda.
Don't you know I have a can of pop here?
Oh, gee, don't you know you got a soda and a 9mm.
But it's kind of funny because when I was talking about that $5 difference in the $2.13 to the $7.25, I've never seen it where someone made less in a restaurant. Like servers always made more. Now, when I worked in, I don't know if I can mention it. Let's not mention the name and just say it is a popular chain breakfast restaurant, like a Denny's, but not Denny's, right?
Okay.
So there's no alcohol, and 80% profit on alcohol.
Oh my God.
And automatically more tips. Automatically, the more someone is, let's say, not drunk but slightly intoxicated, they will automatically tip more. They do.
Yeah, they're loose.
Their inhibitions are less, and they're more gratified. It depends on the drunk, but either way, let's just put that aside. It's been the only time that I've ever seen servers make less where we had to compensate the pay. And at the time, this is where restaurants now, this is going back 10 or 15, 20 years, almost 15 years. This is a time I was a kitchen manager, and my general manager said, "No, you have to change all these numbers so that the server's pay matches this number." Now, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. Basically, what I was doing, he was having me fudge the numbers
it's illegal.
Well, I didn't know it at the time. I honestly, very few times that I had to feign ignorance because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. You know, you're supposed to be trained from this man who is supposed to show you the right way when you just showed the completely wrong way. Right. And literally had me so he was fucking his servers to not make up the difference so that the company wouldn't have to pay them because they were making less in tips. Yeah. And it was one of those realizations when I realized that I went to culinary school. I was working restaurants my whole life, but it's like certain things get lost on you. If the general manager always handled that, they could have been fudging the whole time and you would have never known it. Yeah. Or the servers made enough money where they never had to fudge it. But that's why I had mentioned, breakfast restaurants, low check average.
Yeah, of course.
Cheap
it's crap.
$5.99 eggs and pancakes or some bullshit with a glass of orange juice or a cup of coffee. That's it. That's all they're getting.
And the children make a mess.
Right. So there's always more work and less money, right? Mm-hmm. But I only put that as a point because it was the only time that I've ever seen that. Physically saw fraud. Mm-hmm. And we've dealt with some fraud in our time. We could talk about that. Yeah. Without naming names, of course. But it was the only time that I ever saw it where it made a difference on the pay rate. But I had this, how I formatted this segment here was more questions to you and to me. So like I'm going to ask the question to you, but I'll have my own answer as well. And some of them are research statistics, but most of it is just personal stuff. We've been in the business. I have to be honest, statistics will tell you one thing, but you talk to people in the business and they'll tell you the same things you already know because it is the way it is. That's the way it is.
Right.
So basically 43 states have a lower sub-minimum wage than the others, right? So there's 7 states that eliminated the sub-minimum wage entirely. 7 U.S. states took away tipping and now pay waiters, let's say $10 or $12, $15 an hour.
I'd never do it.
Okay, and these are the questions I wanted to ask because I almost feel like I would go back to it because you can still get tips. People will still tip. You just don't have to rely on it. So the idea that you, may not make as much what you think. Like if I made $300 on Saturday, but I made $60 on Tuesday, did I make $300 on Saturday?
No, you take those two, add them together, and divide it by 2.
So
that's
how
much you made
now,
each day.
Now you have to do that for every day you work.
Sure. Yeah.
And it becomes it's actually hard, especially when you're young or you're trying to manage your money. It's hard to do because you have to figure out every single week exactly what you made because you don't know until the week is over. Mm-hmm. Because no matter how good I did today, if you want to take a day off tomorrow, I could have done even more and then lost less, and then so on and so forth.
Right. Okay, well, I mean, if they say, I'm going to pay you $12 an hour to wait tables, but if I know people are going to tip me anyway, okay, that's fine. But if they put a big sign, no tipping.
Oh, they have to. Well, they would put it on the menus. They would put it on the website. It would be disclosed that there is, because the gratuity would be added to the bill automatically. So you're still getting the tip, but it's added into their bill automatically. It would be the idea of an automatic gratuity. This is, I think, the way some of them
brings me to $12 an hour,
which I think justifies to 12. So it's put into this bill, which pays the bill, right? And then any extra is extra. Then a tip actually becomes what it used to be: a tip, a gratification, a gratuity, instead of a means to pay your bills. Like whenever I would see, you remember when we were young, and you'd see friends leave 3%. 5%, and they're literally stiffing the waitress. I would wait for everyone to leave and leave her money.
Throw extra money.
Yeah, because they don't understand. They're stealing from her. You went into her apron and took out her money, because you didn't give her what she deserved. And they're like, well, I don't have to give her anything. I'm like, yeah, you kind of do. Yeah. You came out as a service to eat out. It is a service to eat out. And go home and fucking cook your own food and have someone else you serve it yourself.
Yeah, you don't have to tip her. Then why do you have to pay for the food?
Exactly. Right. But they don't see that. And that was...
Well, they're stupid.
I know. And it's a small percentage, of course. But it's still a percentage. And that percentage can affect someone. A good tip too. So that leads to me to my next question. Like, what is a good tip? Like today. Because we're up to 20% average.
Yeah, okay. 20...
we were at 15 when I was, 18 was like, okay, you're really good. 20, that was special. Okay, so now let's go back 10, 15 years.
Okay, well, here's the thing. People that are in the business usually tip more than 20% because they're in the business.
Yes, we know that. You have to take them out.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the average tip and an average customer with, even if they're regulars, what's a good tip?
I only work in places that have good check averages that people tip 20%.
Right, which most people don't realize.
I will not work at Applebee's.
The first thing I would say to
refuse.
someone is, what's your check average?
Yeah.
And they would look at you like you were crazy because no one's going to ask that.
Yeah.
No normal person. If you were in the business, and they would know that you couldn't be fucked. Like, if they didn't show you numbers, you weren't going to take that job. You just walk out the door. And they don't generally care because someone else walks in. Right. But after COVID, that changed. Everything changed after COVID. I know you guys in Florida didn't really feel it as much because you didn't, technically, air quoting here, people, shut down. But it did affect you. It had to affect you one way or another.
The restaurant I was working at went out of business.
Right. So the idea of whether you're open and people aren't going, whether it's legal to not leave your house and all that, and then, self-containment. Like, we shut down in Pennsylvania. That was it. 3 months. Didn't go to work. Stayed at home. You left the house one day a week, maybe to go shopping because you needed to, and that was it. You didn't go out. I got paid. Employment, unemployment,
sure,
full benefit, whole nine. But if I was in a restaurant, that would suck because I'd have to still go to work. But you told us all night. But you can't go to work. You're not allowed. But you're not going to pay me what I'm worth because you can't tell me what I'm worth because the tips vary.
Yeah.
So you have to take an average. So it's averaged off for the last 3 months. If the last 3 months were getting crappy and that's what you got paid in the end, that's what you get in your unemployment. It wasn't a set. See, this is where I start to kind of feel for both ends. But even after COVID, doesn't matter. This is years later now. I mean, COVID's not even the thing anybody says. I haven't heard the word COVID
Me neither.
in 4 months. Like, every once in a while, a new variant pops up on somewhere on one of my YouTube channels, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. It's like the new flu vaccine. It's it. We deal with it. And that's exactly what I knew was going to happen. But the whole world came to a halt and economic failure and everyone stay home and we're all going to die and you're all fucking retarded because you don't know science or pay attention to actual science. All that aside, it hurt the restaurant business. I saw it. It hurt all service business.
Everything,
Yeah, any service business. And that's a large percentage. Retail, fast food chains. Because even if the fast food chains aren't getting the $2 an hour and getting tips, they still had to work through all this. There was something like 63% of all adult deaths in America during COVID happened to people that worked in retail and service because they were forced to go to work.
Really?
Yes. So the idea that, the kind of stay-at-home thing, it did work. But it doesn't work for everyone. So if you can't make it work for everyone, it fails.
Yeah.
Because then, only those people that had to do that job died. What? That's worse. They didn't get extra compensation. They didn't get hazard pay.
No.
If a guy does military work and he does hazard pay,
I
he
was
gets
just
right.
gonna say
Doesn't matter, cop or just pick a job, or you have to go clean out a nuclear power plant. You can only spend 20 minutes in radiation before you. That's fucking hazard pay. Damn right there is. Why is it any different? But because of the minimalistic, or maybe the way it works, it didn't happen.
Well, it was unprecedented, so nobody knew how to deal with it. Nobody knew what to do. There was no
fucking
protocols set in
Chernobyl
place.
was unprecedented. You know what happened to those people that worked on Chernobyl? They all fucking died.
Yeah.
They all died. They worked, they cleaned up the rubble, and they died 3 months later because they were exposed the moment they set foot in that spot.
They
to
were dead.
Extreme. Yes, there was no way. Even if you
like
went
a
in for
stick of
5 minutes
dynamite,
and
you
left,
lit the
you're dead.
fuse.
Yeah, because the radiation doesn't just go away; it stays with you, and you're dead. Right now, what do? Now we have detectors, and we use robots, and we use, we have special suits, and we take extra care. But again, whether it's, I know I went to a really big extreme comparing the restaurant business to Chernobyl, but in a way, it doesn't matter. You take an extreme. Unprecedented shouldn't be a word anymore. Unprecedented is a meteor the size of a school bus hitting the earth and causing devastation.
Well, it's unprecedented to us. For the dinosaurs, that's just another
and
day.
Earth, billions of years, yes. But for our basic, now you can say that for being unprecedented. COVID, no. Not unprecedented. We knew we've had pandemics in the past.
Yeah, of course.
We weren't ready.
Bird flu, swine flu, the Black Plague.
Right. You can keep going. So it's not like, again, we knew this was going to happen. Even Bill Gates said it, I think it was 2 years before. He had this whole talk on TED Talk about the next big thing will be a pandemic. Now, you could turn around and be like, conspiracy, he did it. He totally orchestrated COVID. No, he was just smart enough to see that this is statistical probability. That's all. All that aside, affecting the service industry is where I was going with it. But what is a good tip? Like is 20? I think 18 is average, 20 is good. Anything above 20 is the gratuity part.
Yeah.
Like if I give a waitress 23%, she did a damn well job, or he, or whatever. They did a really good job. They were informative. They were charismatic. They had excitement. They enjoyed their job. They knew their job. They were good at their job. But average, I have to be honest with you, I have not been impressed with a waiter in years. I can count on less than one hand how many times I remember a good server.
Do you know why?
Because people don't care.
Because
restaurants don't care?
when we waited tables, we did a good job, and we looked at the little kid sitting at that table. That kid grew up looking at a tablet, grew up a little spoiled brat. His name is Skylar or Connor or Cole or one of those little fucking names. And now this kid grows up. He's an asshole.
Yeah. Or so entitled.
Yeah.
Is that the angle? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we had to walk to school in the snow.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these kids
are we old
don't...
enough to say that? I mean, we didn't walk uphill both ways because that's physically impossible.
Yeah, but still.
But we did walk to school in snow and slide on our trumpet cases and deal with blizzards. And then sometimes you get all the way to school and they close, and you have to walk all the way back.
Yeah.
You know, no parents driving us. I drive my kid. We drive our kid to school every day. She could take a bus, but we don't. We drive her. And I could be that guy, like, you know, the kid can walk. It's not even that fucking far. You know, I'm not really that worried about like her safety either. It's generally pretty
That's
decent
why I
on
would
it.
do it for their
I get
safety.
it, and there is a point where you get sometimes. But then the day that you can't take them, they're like, I'm just not gonna go. Like, no, that's not how it works. You gotta go. Sometimes shit happens. We don't have a car. We have to go to work or whatever. You gotta get to school. Look,
I'll Uber your ass there.
even that, no, that one I was just. But okay, so
back to what's
you're basing it on generation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
mean,
just curious.
I'm not impressed with anybody their age.
I only
doing
asked you
what they
because
do.
I'm out of the loop for 10 to 15 years, and an average tip would change. And when I was getting tips, I told you I was at the gun range. It was different kind of tips. It was I got tips for literally just being me, which I don't even know why people would give me money for being me. People should be charging me for being me
because they appreciate your honesty.
No, I get it, but most people don't. Like, it is kind of threatening. Even my wife just said to me today that I'm brash and overly honest, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I mean, but I'm not. Yeah, I don't know how else to not be me, and I'm not rude or nasty about it. It's just I think too many people want to be coddled, and I don't have time for that. I really don't.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
From me personally, I would tip somebody who's brutally honest with me than somebody who's blown smoke up my ass. I don't need you to blow smoke up my ass. I think
you can smell through that, like you know that sixth sense of being. I think it's the New York bullshitter. Like you can see through it, and if someone just gives you the honesty, it's refreshing. Honestly, I think it's refreshing. Like, if you told me, just give me some honesty. Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. I think that's nice. That's good. I didn't need to be coddled. Most people don't, you know, unless you're a child, you know, if you're under like 8 years old, yes, there's plenty of coddling to be done because they're not mentally
prepared,
like, ready for it, right? You know, for the world. They're not supposed to be. Be a fucking child. You're not supposed to hit these kids with all kinds of mature shit. But
unless you put a gun on their head, then
well, even then, it would like, you know, I was shooting guns when I was 6 and 8 years old, but there was supervision and there was safety and there was understanding and there was.
But your dad did not coddle you. He wasn't like, "Oh, David, don't point the gun at Daddy's face." No, but I think that's what led to
the severity of the brash honesty. Whereas a certain point, like there are certain things you coddle and there are a lot of things you don't. Yeah. But all right, so I still haven't gotten the answer. What's a good tip?
Okay, coming from me, I never worked in the restaurant business. I go into a nice place, me and my wife. And our bill is $200 because we had nice steaks and a nice bottle of wine.
Right, pretty standardly average for a mid to higher priced place.
I think somebody that has a fairly decent education and a somewhat decent job and is a fairly decent human being. You got enough to pay a $200
bill for the restaurant.
So. I'd say that $50 would be a good tip.
Okay, yeah, I would have averaged between 40 and 60. Sure, yeah. Most people will tip 30.
Yeah, I mean. At some of the places I worked,
did the server open the wine? Did they open it properly? Did they serve the who ordered the wine? Did they smell it? Did they care about tasting it? After that, did they serve the woman first? See, these are things that are lost in the service industry.
I know the proper way to serve wine, and I'll do it at a table, and most people don't even
give a crap.
No, and they don't know what you're doing.
They don't even know the etiquette, right? Or like thinking the difference. It's funny because like I use my wife as an example. I'm sorry, Marlene, but. The difference between a salad fork and a dinner fork. Yeah. There's a fucking difference. No, there's a difference. There is a difference. Now, ethically, ethically? Editically?
Oh my God! Now you took the word. You took the words out of my mouth.
I just made up a word, people. How do you like that? The etiquette involved in it is different than the functionality. A salad fork is usually longer with thinner
tines,
right? To pick up lettuce in piles because it now there is a practical reason, but generally most people don't give a flying fuck.
No, I've worked in fine dining where they would take their dinner fork and their salad fork and put them together and shovel. And this is fine dining.
Yeah.
Now I have to remark their table.
Yeah.
With a new dinner fork.
So, but like I was just giving the wine as an etiquette is just, it's a formality. Yes, maybe lost. It used to be we smelled a cork. That went away.
That's ridiculous.
We don't do that no more. First of all, it was never a thing to begin with.
No.
It was made up in some movie or something and kept on growing as a myth. It's like one of those myths.
You look at the cork to see if the wine was stored on its side in the bottle.
How it was stored, how much absorbs into the cork.
Right.
But we don't even use corks anymore.
No,
what do we use?
We use rubber.
Synthetic.
Yeah, because cork is running out. We don't have that much.
It comes
left
from a
in the
fucking
world.
tree. We don't need it to stuff in fucking wine bottles. Make something else, right? I never understood. I don't care, right? But there is a certain amount of etiquette that comes to pouring glass and having, pour from the left, never pour over someone. But these are things I think that are lost on most servers because they see a job that's just easy and everybody can get it. And even when you suck, you still get tips.
Yeah.
But that's also, like you said, the difference between the really good waiters and servers and the ones who just are there. They're literally background color. You might as well be one of those fucking nailed things to the wall, the Dachowskis, because that's all you are, Not engaging. What are the specials? Let me go find out. I'll be right back. What do you mean?
You should.
No, don't fucking leave. You should have them.
Isn't that what pre-shipped is for?
Right, but again, do they pay attention in pre-shift? Do they write anything down? I mean, I did all this stuff. I was also a chef. I was also a cook. We were also we understand both sides of the aspects.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think there's different.
Yeah, I'm grateful that I started in the back of the house.
I am too, in a lot of ways. And it was worse and tougher and harder. But
it gives you an appreciation.
It gives you not only appreciation, but an understanding.
Yeah,
like when they said to me, oh, yeah, we lightly sauteed it in garlic and oil with this and that. Like, I don't have to ask a million questions. You explained to me what it was. You told me the ingredients. Now I know for allergens or dislikes for what's in it, and someone asks you. Even if I had to look at the paper, I wasn't as good to memorize every special. But you got it right there. All right, well, it is sauteed lightly in olive oil with salt and pepper and garlic. And, oh, you know what? I don't like garlic. Well, we'll have that garlic taken out for you. But you're okay with the olive oil and the salt and pepper? Oh, yeah, sure. That's it. That was simple. But I have to go in the back to find out 4 ingredients? What the fuck is wrong with you? Quit. You suck.
Yeah.
Go work at a fucking theme park.
And you think the chef really wants to answer that question when he's in the middle of a busy service?
You don't even think of having a wait, and he'd be like, "I told you this already in the beginning of the night," and then you have to reiterate.
Busy.
Yeah, they're fucking stressed out, throwing shit, cursing at people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a hard business.
It is.
And my kid is a hostess now, and it's funny because like I started as a host. I didn't even start in the kitchen. I started as a host. I mean, I worked at a deli. I cooked crap in the deli with Dan and
Warren. Oh
yeah,
I remember.
Which is not something you're proud of, but it was work. We cooked briskets. We made did short order cooking. We made sandwiches. You still work in a deli.
Yeah.
But no, I was a host first, so you don't even see it. The host stands at that fucking little podium and says, "How many?"
Yeah.
I always made fun of it. Yeah. Like that's what your fucking job is. You ask people how many people they have. You squeegee it on a little board and you walk them over there and put down menus. Right. They should be at least rumbling off, getting their first
on the way to the table.
Right.
Yeah, David will be your server, by the way. Our soup today is this and that.
Yeah, some kind of interaction. No, it's not even
and if they do that to every single table, and you as a server, they know the soup already. Yeah. Let me get into some of the appetizers that we have. Yeah. Whatever, man. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So average, average I think is 18 to 20.
Which is okay.
I guess, but they never really factor in inflation. Or not only inflation, but recession. Mm-hmm. People don't realize, when we're close to a recession, or let's say, like you said before, food cost goes up, or certain food item goes up, things become difficult. And that's only for the restaurant. The customer doesn't care about that. No. They don't change Outback's not going to change the price of one menu item because, this goes up, because they have a million Outbacks. So they get it blends all together. But a little tiny mom and pop place, they're the ones that are the most endangered. Yeah. Cell phone, single owned business. Even if it's not a small place, it's just the only place you own. It's the only one that's out there. That's dangerous.
That's your bread and butter.
Oh yeah, it's really dangerous.
Yeah. But then again, now this is what I love about people that are in the service business. Like if I go to if I sit at your table with a friend of mine, and I get an appetizer, we share an appetizer, we get 2 cups of coffee. Our bill is $12, and we sit at your table for an hour and a half. I'm going to tip on the time.
I tip on the time, not the bill.
Because I understand, instead of this being $12,
especially if it was busy,
they could have had a 4-top for $100, and then they could have get sat again with another 4-top for $100.
Different if it's like a month. Either way, you pay for the time.
Yeah. If the place is empty,
right?
But I mean,
the difference between a Tuesday and a Saturday, sure. Yeah. But yes, But why do you think that? Because
I've been on the other side.
You've been on the other side,
and
that's one of the biggest problems that those people haven't. Right. They don't see the other side. They just think I'm a customer. I sat here. It doesn't matter how fucking long I sit here. If you want to sit at a table and fucking play on your little tablet and sit for 3 hours, go to Starbucks.
Yeah.
Go to a coffee fucking house.
Yeah.
That's what that's for. This is a restaurant, But you don't see it that way. You're a customer. You want what you want.
Yeah. I own the place as soon as I walked in that front door. I own the place.
That's a good point. That's a good point because I do too. I would pay for time because there has been times you do it, or even people have meetings. Sometimes people have interviews, or they send someone, take them to a restaurant to hire them, or to vet them, or to make a deal. And most business people will always pay for the time. They automatically paid for the time in the tip because they know that I do this often. I live in an industrial park. I come to this restaurant. I sat here for 2 hours. I know I'm taking up your table, but I'm going to tip you really well. They tell you in the beginning, and you are like, you got it, man.
It.
Whatever you need.
Your coffee's full.
Right. That's it. They're everybody has a little idiosyncrasy, like whether it's coffee or soda or water or something. No ice. Ooh, no lemon. I don't want a straw. There's always something. If you can just remember that, you already. You ever get those guys that start with a higher tip, and the less you do, they take away?
That's happened a couple of times.
Yeah,
Fuck
and it's
those people.
so demeaning.
I know.
Like, just don't tip it. I don't have to see it to know that I'm not doing a good job. Tell me what you don't want me to do, then I won't do it. Then tip accordingly. You don't have to keep taking your dollar away every time. And it was usually a really good tip. Like, he would get like $8 worth of food and start with $10. But if he didn't fill his coffee up, the moment it was less than half, he would immediately take $1 away. So like all you're doing is spending your time like nerve-wrackingly watching his coffee cup, to not lose that $1 because it was double your gratuity.
So every time I do something bad, you take $1. Okay, I went to the kitchen and I got a ramekin. You see, there's 12 boogers in it. Every time you're an asshole to me,
one of these goes in your coffee.
He takes $1 away. You bring him his macaroni and cheese. Okay, there's 11 boogers.
I can't. Oh my god, it's so wrong. I've never done it. I am so glad.
No, I know.
No, I know that I've never stooped to that level.
No, I never have.
I've seen people do it, and I can understand why people do it.
Very, very rarely.
It's rare.
People do it.
It is rare, but I have seen it, and they usually get caught because,
of course,
even the people that work in a restaurant don't like to see that because they don't. It's a level of trust,
right?
Especially when it's a cook, because we eat in a restaurant too. I don't want him putting my shit.
And
in there.
how do I know that isn't going out to somebody that I know,
right?
Somebody that I care
to
about,
you.
Or to me?
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I said that doesn't last, and that's why the misconception of people and that it happens a lot. It doesn't.
No,
it doesn't. And even if it does, you would never know it. And the less you think about it, the better it is for everyone.
Right, exactly.
But all that aside,
we eat bugs and flies and mosquitoes. And do you know what else? Like
it's okay.
Me is somebody who's been in this business a long time. Look, I understand if it's busy and you don't do the best job as a server and everything, and you're weeded or whatever. If you're nice to me, that's all. Just be nice to me, and don't lie to me.
Yeah.
Don't say,
the fluff.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you forget to put my order in, don't say the kitchen lost it. Just be honest with me.
Because we're gonna find out.
I'm always honest with my tables. I don't lie to my tables.
Honestly, I think you're right. As you said before, that goes a long way.
Yeah.
There are times you get busy. Look, I'm so sorry. I did.
This was my fault.
I forgot to put your order in, but I did put it in, and I'm gonna get you this extra stuff. This one, I'm gonna give you this for you. Try to accommodate them somehow.
Yeah, and we'll buy
honesty
a dessert.
does go a long way.
Yeah, we'll buy a couple desserts tonight.
Because it's worse if you're lying and get caught lying, and then you just look stupider.
Yeah. Because as soon as you walk away, they're like, "Yeah, sure, the kitchen lost it."
Yeah,
asshole.
Or like I used to mess around when I was at the gun range, and I would always tell. I had been there years, like 4 or 5 years, and you get a lot of the same people. Season after season, maybe not week after week, but month after month, but like seasonally, they come back. And I'd be like, all right, guys, my name is Dave, blah, 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 yada, yada, go over the rules. Just like, go easy on me. It is my first day, and like the one guy, he just goes up, he goes, I had you last time. And I'm like, you did have me last time. It is not my first day, but today is the first day. And then I just move on.
Today is
right?
the first.
And they're just stupefied over
What the hell is he talking
Yeah,
about?
like I was joking. You know I'm joking.
Right.
And once you get into it, you know that obviously because you know new people. Whether you're in a restaurant or any kind of service job, you can automatically tell when someone's new. The look on their face, the way they move. They don't move like everyone else. They have kind of a jerkiness to them. They have a uncertainty about them.
They're not excited to see you when they come
stumble,
and greet the
they
table.
jumble. They're trying to think about what they have to do. When you're good at what you do, you don't think about what you do. It's like driving a car
like
for
driving-
20
yeah,
years.
like driving a car.
I don't think about driving a car. I think about everyone else driving their cars. And that's what you have to keep doing for the 20 years after, right? But yeah, all that stuff. And when you start picking up on social cues, I think restaurant industry actually did make me very astute to society.
I think everybody should work.
It should be forced, like military service in Sweden. Like you have to spend a year,
Just a year.
Yeah, just so that you can live in. But then again, you'd have to do that for everyone. Like you have to work on a farm picking strawberries.
Absolutely. Then you could
Actually,
appreciate
if
where
we all
your
got the
food
same
came
money,
from.
if we all get the same money, no matter the job, for let's say an average of certain jobs, that would actually be a pretty good social experiment.
Right.
Even if it was for a
That
certain
should be
time.
part of high school.
Kind of like paid community service, but more of a social experiment for the understanding and I actually kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean,
It'll never happen. It's kind of
of
twisted.
course it's not going to happen.
But
yeah.
but I like that.
Yeah. Here's Skylar. Here's your iPad.
Skylar.
Don't worry about where your potatoes come from. This asshole grows them.
I'll tell you, that kid will pick strawberries all day long if you make a game out of it on a fucking tablet.
Yeah, exactly.
And
He'll be picking strawberries.
We're like 2 steps close from that. Right. I mean, I was watching the way they do stuff now, like training robots, right? They train them in VR. The guy has the goggles on. The guy has control of the robot, and his motions train the robot to exactly what, and then repetition. So now he knows what to do and what not to do. And then eventually the guy takes them off after a few months of the robot learning, because we use now, obviously, mostly interactive learning. Like the robots are children until they're adults in robot world. They get better. They make mistakes, right? But they could just do it a lot faster computing. Same thing. And I think we'll get there with stuff like that. That's for the future. A little later in the episode, I want to go over some of that, like the future of it. But
here's another idea about tipping. Like when I go to Hot Pie and get a pizza or whatever, the pizza guy will make the pizza. A 16-year-old kid will hand it to me, and now I'm supposed to tip them.
Yeah, no.
Whatever. I'll give him
if
$1.
you're a regular,
I am,
and this guy makes your pizza every week,
yeah,
and it's always the same, and he knows you like, all right, here's
but
something.
I'd rather give it to the cook.
Okay, I get it, but a lot of those places, those tips are divvied.
Yeah, that's
nowadays
true.
they do percentile it. So like the amount of hours whoever worked that day gets the tip in a jar and they split, and usually it ends up being $5 to $10 if that's gas money or some other food that they don't serve. They eat on their way home because we don't eat the food that we work in. I mean, a little bit, but not as much as you think. People think, oh, it's great working in restaurants. Yeah, you eat the same fucking food every day, meatloaf for the rest of your life. It's like being married.
I love Taco Bell. You do? Go get a job there.
Yeah. You want to curb your diet? Go work there for 5 minutes and serve it all day long. The smell,
And
the
then
feel,
eat
the
it
touch,
every
the
day.
taste. Yeah.
Let's see how much you love Taco Bell in 6 months.
Yeah, same concept.
Do you know who you should tip? The guy that does your heart surgery and you don't die. Good job,
we
dude.
tipped him like $500,000.
Yeah, but that's not enough. I'm not dead.
Yeah.
You cut me open.
Yeah, and I didn't even pay for it. The insurance.
I wouldn't even know what.
Even when you don't pay for it, the hospital pays for it.
Yeah.
Like they can't not save your life.
Yeah. They
Right?
yeah.
Like in a way. Yeah, you may not have to. You die of a heart attack, but if you broke your arm, they got to fix your arm, even if you don't pay the bill.
Yeah.
I mean, they try to get you to pay the bill, but you don't really have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I agree with that. All right, so we touched base on that. Yeah, and I got my my other one was what was a good average, and does it matter? One day is 100 less than the day before. We covered that. Where you basically, I used to, and I'll give you my story. Like when I was, I think this is TGI Fridays back in the day, when they were even a thing, and they basically killed Bennigan's and all the other ones. Tchotchke, great bartender Olympics though, a lot of fun. Really
like the
impressive.
flair and all that
A lot of
crap,
impressive. They love their flair. But when I came home, every night I left work, I went to the ATM and I deposited half of all my money, tips, every night. It was clockwork. So you never, and I still had more left over. So this way my bills were always paid, no matter how good or bad I did, because this way I never, and I still added more. So even that rollover, my bank from the next day was put into that. Then I put half of that into that, you know. So it kind of forced you to keep making more money. But it was hard. You really have to manage you have to keep check on your account and your weekly payings, and it's pretty rough. So, and then you think the type of restaurant, of course, makes a difference? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, probably
because
more,
the type
probably
of
more
restaurant,
so than most people think.
Yeah, the type of restaurant is directly correlated to the type of clientele.
Yeah, and what? Check
average. Absolutely.
Number one. And people don't think of that. Like, well, yeah, that's the difference between fine dining and just casual dining.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're paying, your bill's $100. Some people, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
To some people, that's a half a bottle of wine and an appetizer.
Yeah.
That didn't even count the main course.
I've had people sit down at tables in my restaurant. Well, restaurants that I've worked in. Yeah. They pick up the menu. They look at it, they put it down,
and leave,
and they sneak out.
Yeah, because they're embarrassed. They can't pay for that. I can't afford this.
Right.
I didn't realize this was so expensive. Or
bye.
Then they've got to look through the thing and find the cheapest and smallest. And honestly, I've been there.
Yeah, price surfing. You look at the prices. 50, 60, 70, 24. What is it? Oh, I don't really like that, but 24.
When there's no price on that? Oh, no. You definitely don't want to talk about that one.
When you see MP. Yeah, do you know why it's MP? Because your pocket's going to be MP after you eat dinner.
Yeah.
And market price.
So, you know, and again, I still go back to really alcohol. And it's sad because I don't advocate the drinking, but it's what makes the money.
But it
is the money. That's why bartenders make so much.
Yeah.
You know, and
a drink,
and then also
in a good restaurant, drinks $8. If you get a martini, $15.
Yeah, even at happy hour or even cheap prices, even you know, you're going to go top shelf, that's one thing, but top shelf is in the name, top shelf. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're going to get you're still paying $6 to $8, right, for a drink. And then most people, me on average, I'm not the average. I have one drink. Mm-hmm. At best, 2 beers. Mm-hmm. Like I very rarely have 2 drinks. Unless it's happy hour and they're like $5 a piece. Mm-hmm. And even then, they're not as strong. Because it's happy hour. We obviously know you put less. That's kind of the whole point. Right. You're not getting the deal.
Happy hour, you have to do beer or wine because they can't water that down.
Because I was working in bars in New York back at Heffron's back in the day when happy hour was, free drinks. And then they passed a New York law where you're not allowed to give alcohol away. So they were like 5-cent drinks. Right. Like, you really stopped them there.
Yeah, boy,
you stuck it to them good. I'm like, they're still trashed out there while I'm fucking cooking burgers. Yeah. I used to give away food at happy hour. And, the more food you give them, the more drinks they can drink. Yeah. Because the more full you are, the more sober you get, the more drinks you can drink. And then the cycle continues.
Wow.
And I used to get tipped like crazy, man. We were out there and cooking and shit, and these people are all drunk.
Wow.
But yeah.
There was a place down the street. It used to be called Rooney's. Like the guy that owns the Pittsburgh Steelers. His name is Art Rooney.
Okay.
So people that are rich open restaurants and stuff. And so it was a Steelers.
It's good publicity.
Yeah, people go there to watch the Steelers game. So if all you had to do was bring something, I can't remember what night of the week. All you had to do was bring something that had a handle on it, and they'd fill it with beer for 25 cents.
Oh, that's got to be exploited really fast.
Oh, they didn't care.
They didn't care that you came with like a ridiculously 72-inch like coffee mug with a handle.
People would take a knife and cut the top off of milk bottles.
Sure, anything with a handle.
Yeah,
I mean at that point you got to be really careful with your words. But sure, okay.
But I mean the person for 25 cents, they're not going to drink 2 gallons of beer.
No,
but now they're going to get food and and all that.
I know it's a gimmick, it's a ploy. It's
and it was. I mean, it wasn't like top shelf beer.
And if they're rich to begin with, and the restaurant is a plaything for their own pleasure, then most people don't care.
Yeah. I never went there for that because it was nothing but trouble.
Oh, sure. I mean, again, you're going to breed the trouble.
Yeah. People bring those big 7-Eleven cups with the hand.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. My giant coffee cup. I'm thinking like that big one that fits a whole pot of coffee. Yeah. Okay, so that you have the alcohol. We have the type of restaurant. Then there's fresh over frozen. People don't realize fresh food is fucking expensive. They can tell you that you want to eat healthy and go eat organic and eat fresh food. I'm going to tell you right now, it's fucking expensive.
Yeah, of course
Even
it is.
as a family person or someone has to, see, not that I do a lot of the shopping because I would buy more expensive stuff because I was a chef and I think certain better products taste better. That's
Absolutely.
just kind of the way they go. but it's expensive. So the idea that you got a place that's frozen vegetables, they're gonna be able to charge less because it's garbage. It's frozen. But a place that gets from a local market, they got to charge more
because it's time sensitive.
Yes, not only perishable, time sensitive.
I can't keep this for 3-4 weeks.
But that farmer market is also. You ever notice like people are so picky that everything looks perfect. No blemishes, no this. Just fucking eat it, man. It's fine. If there's a bruise on a tomato, it didn't make the tomato bad. Yeah. If that green bean is slightly darker colored and 3 spots over the green, just fucking eat it. It's fine. But we are so dead set on the aesthetics of it, and that's why you get all those places where they buy like the broken fruit, the stuff that's turned away from the supermarkets, because they refuse to put it on their shiny little pyramid of lemons because it doesn't look right. It still tastes fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
You know, and what the fuck do you do with a lemon? You usually use the inside, not the outside.
Yeah, you just squeeze the juice out of it. I've been eating lemons like crazy lately, making lemonade. With stevia.
Oh yeah,
like crazy. I mean,
that's
bags
good.
and bags and
it's
bags.
So much different. So much. It almost tastes like lemonade back in 1978.
Yeah,
you know?
It's so good.
All right, yeah. So they even touched those other things. And...
Yeah, I mean, fresh food is so good. I mean, people don't understand. Like when you freeze food, the water crystals inside expand because water expands when it freezes, and the food will be soggy.
Yeah. Well, that's why they blanch. Why you blanch vegetables, especially green. Anything green, you generally blanch before you freeze, because if you don't, then it just gets soggy because, like you said, it expands and freezes. Same thing with our, why we can't cryogenically freeze us, because ice crystals in the blood. Same thing on the insides of the fruit. They have veins, like what equivalates to veins in vegetables. Yeah.
Well, how come they can't blanch us first?
We're going to stick you in boiling water for 30 seconds. Hey, then we're going to freeze you solid.
Ma, Pa, Nana just passed. Well, put some water on the boil, boy. We're going to freeze this woman.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Granny.
And I hate to mention this, but it is a factor. It is a statistical factor. That is a tip reflected by gender, race, age, etc.
Don't make me answer this question.
I know. You don't even want to answer it. I don't want to answer it either, but the answer is yes.
Yes, absolutely.
In every shape, way, or form, and it's a shame.
And
I think
what?
Doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter which one it is. It doesn't matter whether it's age, race, or gender. It is definitely reflected. As a man, a woman will always get a better tip, especially if she's got big boobs and is good looking.
Because this man, deep down in his mind, has this wild idea.
Yeah.
One day I will have sex with her.
I guess, is that what it is?
It's a primal DNA instinct.
I didn't go that far into the psychological aspect of it, but it is a definite fact.
Now, if the guy is sitting at the table thinks I'm a cutie pie, hey, I'm in business.
Yeah, but and I worked in the business long enough that doesn't matter. It's the service to me. It's the personality, because there's personality behind every face, whether they're beautiful or fugly. It doesn't matter whether they're old or young, whether they're black or white or Asian or Palestinian. It doesn't matter. How good are you at your job? But it unfortunately does affect. Yeah. And
people like you and I, fortunately have that outlook. Some other people they're just.
I can only hope that statistic diminishes and degrades over time and disappears over time, which it has.
Hopefully.
I mean, history shows us that it has in all other aspects. You can only imagine that it eventually will. But I just wanted to touch base because it is a factor, regardless of it. So when you think about, I just try to think that some people need their eyes open to either paying attention to it or not noticing that they're doing it. Maybe you're doing it, you don't even know it.
I didn't know if you meant the sex, ethnicity, whatever, of the server or of the guest.
Server. No, the server.
Okay, the server.
Well, the server in relation to the guest, because you're still you, right? No matter who you are, but the guest is always different. That's what I'm saying. Like, you as the guest can go to different places, but that server you're always you. So you can't change you. You can change the customers, but you can't change you. So if you're being reflected off of you, no matter who you are, right? Again, age, race, gender, it's still reflected. And nowadays it would be something of the equivalent of a female who doesn't equate themselves as a female and wants to be referred to as a guy. But yet the person at the table doesn't understand that, and then reflects them that doesn't agree with this new age sexuality choice, right? So they tip accordingly on their belief or their, but not how good they did. That was only an example, but I'm going to an extreme to make the point. But
yeah, well, I mean, I never really told my tables any. Not that I really have any big, huge political or religious ideas. I just never mention any of it. I mean, if I
it's
hear
not
them,
smart usually.
If I hear them talking about the Yankees, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a Yankee.
You got to
fan
play
too,
a lot of
you
have to play a lot of eavesdropping.
Yeah, sure.
Because
Absolutely.
If you try to conversation drop, which I like to call it, on the wrong thing, and you're completely opposite of their belief,
2 words, you're dead meat.
Your tip's gone.
Yeah.
Or 2 words the right way, and your tip doubles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The conversation basically explodes into a further. Now, even as a server, unless you work in a place where you're only given a few tables, you don't have that much fucking time to talk to people. You really don't. You have to make things brief. They have to be anecdotal, and you have to move the fuck on.
Yeah. Especially when you get that old lady, and she just wants to talk to you for 20 minutes about her.
And you feel bad because she's lonely, and you got nothing else, and you're trying to walk away. You're doing that like your body is moving faster than your head, and you're like a cartoon character.
I'll be like, oh my god, do you know what? I have to take care of a couple more tables. I'll come back and you could finish.
Oh, they're calling me in the back. Oh, you couldn't hear it. Turn up the hearing aid a little.
No, I mean, I always found a way to politely disengage.
Yeah.
But like, oh, do you know, one of my tables is looking for me. I'll come back. We could talk, more. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it, but you have to put, and this is like, again, going back to that brash honesty, is that people don't want to hear this. They want to. Well, why don't you leave that part out? But that's part of it. You can't leave it out. You have to talk about it. And the only way we're going to actually change things is if people talk about it. Now, you don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. I'm not going to go into massive detail, but making the point known that it is a factor in some shape, way, or form in the perception of the customer versus server atmosphere. It is, and it has to be. I just find that stuff has to be said. So, but okay. So when I was talking about the pandemic and the difference, so when COVID happened, it was what? Let's say it was 2020.
2020. Yeah.
Right. We don't say the exact month because we don't care. Average tip was 19.7. It is now today 19.4. So it's actually averaged. Now, I think it's U.S. We've done it statistically on a U.S. scale because actually we're pretty much the only ones that do this. Europe doesn't do this. Europe doesn't tip you don't tip people in Europe like that. Like the waiter you get at a fine dining restaurant in Europe is getting primo money because he's a good waiter and he gets that. There's no tipping. They don't want you to tip them. It's insulting to tip them. But over here, it's the complete opposite.
Well, here, I mean, when the Europeans come here, that they pretend that they don't know and they don't tip you.
But
don't
it's also a
bullshit
cultural
me.
thing. Right, I know.
You know.
And even then, I feel like, you ever see My Blue Heaven with
Yeah,
and he's like, I tip everybody. Like you would still tip them, even though, like, sorry, I can't accept that. And you're like, you can. Look, this is for free. It's not even a tip. Matter of fact, I owed you $5. Here you go. I'm paying you back. You come up with a different way so that they don't I don't know. They're culturally and socially like fighting the tip. It's like, just fucking take it, man.
Yeah.
I think you deserved it. And when someone, to me, I don't deny a tip. When someone gives you money, if you don't, it's insulting to not take it because it was their choice. I didn't put my hand out like you see in the movies. Nobody fucking does that.
Can I have a nickel, governor?
Have some more. We're not Tiny Tim. We're not poor.
Right.
You don't accept more. Whenever I had, this is one of the good things I used to use as a tactic, and they used to think I was crazy. But I'd get a tip, and it was 10%. And it's insulting. 10%, you're stealing from me. You're literally stealing from me. Yeah. And I'd go over, and I'd be like, okay,
was
folks,
everything okay?
I just wanted to ask you, was there anything wrong with your service today? Was everything all right? And, most of the time, there wasn't. Everything was great. The food was good. You did a great job. Okay, I was just curious because you tipped me 10%, so I was worried that I did something wrong to deserve this.
Right.
Because it's, I felt like I really tried to make your night a good night. Right. I have to tell you, 89 to 92% of the time, they made up that money. Yeah. There was extra money left.
Because you weren't attacking them or blaming them.
I was questioning my own integrity.
Your own, right. Yeah.
But no, I was blaming you. It's your fault.
Yeah, you were
Give
blaming
me more
them.
Fucking money, you cheap piece of shit.
Yeah.
Or you're ignorant. Now, it's very possible you are just absolutely ignorant and don't understand gratuity.
Yeah.
Which is fair. So what I did was I informed you in a really slyly coercive New York kind of slick way.
Yeah.
But you got to see the other servers. They would be like, I can't believe you said that to him. I said, what? You can't believe I questioned my own service?
It was like a condescending, sarcastic.
Yeah. But I never said it with
doorway.
a smile. You say it politely. It has to be, and honestly,
Like with your eyebrows raised, like you're concerned.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I was. So there's not a lot of subterfuge there. I was concerned because if there was something, then at least I would be able to fix it, and then it gives them the chance to explain themselves. But when that person has no explanation, what's left? You're just a cheap fuck.
Yeah, and they're all looking at each other like,
yeah. Someone's looking to make up the difference because now it's not just you or whoever paid the bill. You all look like fucking cheap fucks.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll tell you, it worked a lot, and I had to use it a lot because it was bad how little people would tip. But it was a great tactic. I figure if anybody wants to try it, you're more than welcome. I'd like to know how it goes nowadays. People are a little more vocally.
God, I used to show
they'll record your ass real quick on a phone. There were no cell phones back then.
See, I when I worked at this other job, there was this kid. He was new. So I was teaching them all like my little tricks, the kid comes up and he's like, "These people's bill was $74. They gave me $100. I mean, I didn't ask them if they need change. This. I'm like, this is what you do.
You bring them the change anyway.
No, I go.
Oh, you just ignore them until they ask for it.
Nope. Oh. I go to the table and I say, they give me $100. I'm like, folks, excuse me, I'm gonna have to go find my manager because I don't have change. He's gonna have to get me change for this. And they'll either say, oh, okay, no problem, I'll wait, or
no, that's for you. Keep it. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
You get
that's
your answer right there.
See, that's a good trick. Yeah. It's
and
subtle.
the kid's name was Moore, and he looked at me. He's like, "You're a
genius." Yeah. But the little things that people don't realize, I've always been a big fan of. It's never what you say. It's always how you say it. Yeah. Because I could literally insult you to your face, and
do
you would
need
never
change?
know it.
Do I need change? No, I'm going to give you a $90 tip.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a difference between a $10 bill with $100,
but
and a $90 bill and $100. I hope you're putting more on a $100 bill with 10.
I don't like being axed.
Because even $10 at a $90 bill and a $100 bill is only 10%.
And I've worked at places that are like, if the bill is like whatever and 49 cents, give them the 51 cents. If it's over 50 cents, don't.
Yeah, you're always over. Yeah. That's just
petty.
Round. And then how many years people thought you just doubled the tax? Whoa,
no,
you don't fucking understand how anything works. Yeah. That's not true at all.
No, it's not true.
Okay, not even close. When you think about Florida having no state tax, so I mean, and what state has lower tax? And that's not how it works. No, man, you fucking crazy for double tax. $2.84. So I get $4. The bill was what? No, that's why we had to start putting it on screens to explain to people what these things were. Actually, when you hit 20%, you don't even know what 20% is until you hit it. Then it reflects on your screen. Mm-hmm. So, like, most people don't even know the difference. They wouldn't be able to compensate. I couldn't even really do it. Like $7.37. What's 20%? I can give an average in my head, but I don't actually know what it is. Like, I can't do that math. I can't do any math. But when people hit it, and then they see it, and they go, oh. And the next time, they're like, ooh, 18.
Yeah. 18. and I've worked in places where it would say on the actual physical check, 15%, 18%, 20%.
And it tells you the number.
Yeah, but that's before tax.
Right.
A lot of people just tip with the total and the tax. So I would rip that piece off of the bill. And usually when people tips 20, or they would tip 20% of the whole damn thing.
Yeah. I had an old gratuity, with tables of 8 or more. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's no way I'm turning down an 8-top number one. Mm-hmm. Bigger check average, more money. And if the gratuity is added, bigger check average. Yeah. Because now the tip is directly reflecting off of the food and the booze I sell you. Mm-hmm. Right? And you generally get a tip on top. Generally. I'd say 52%, depending on how good you are, right? You can't really, it's probably half and half. You never really know. But on the paper, you'd give them the gratuities there, and if you circle it, right, and cover it up a little bit, thank you so much. You guys were wonderful. And then you hand it to them, and they tipped you extra. And
you ever get busted doing that?
I got questioned, but you played off as ignorant. And I was young. I was 19. Yeah. You got to imagine, when you're young, you push the limits. You try to push all the buttons.
Of course
we did. We all have. There's none of us could say we didn't, but... I learned that I didn't have to use that as a tactic.
Right.
I learned that I could just be a better waiter. I could just do better.
Right. And when I did add gratuity, I would kind of say, folks, everything is
never
already
lied to
included.
anybody, though. If they
Everything
ask,
here is
you tell
included.
them. I would never
And
lie
I'd
to
make a
them.
joke. If you want to give me extra money, of course. Ha, ha, ha.
Nope, gratuity's been added, but if you guys are more than welcome to add more, I'm not going to say no. And again, if at that point you're more honest and the boldness, you can't lie to them because that's just going to make it worse.
And at the end of the table, if you have that rapport with them, sure, go for you.
Yeah.
Some people are just cool. The second you walk up to the table, they're just cool as hell. I love those people.
Yeah. Okay, so the only thing I had after that was where to tip and when, and we kind of touched base on that.
Yeah,
like the smoothie guy, the guy who opens your door in Manhattan.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have that reputation as being a high roller, and it's important to you that people look at you in that light, sure, tip every single buddy in the world.
Or you work in the business and you know what it's like, so you end up tipping more often than less. But even people that work in the business are less inclined to tip that pizza person who didn't do anything other than punch a few numbers in a cash register and hand you a box. Like, that's not work.
I
that's
greeted
not
you.
tip-worthy.
I asked you what you wanted to drink. I went and physically poured the drinks. I came back.
There was work
I cleaned
involved.
your table.
I
took
bust the table. There's a certain amount of tip worthiness.
I made your little snotty kid chocolate milk. I'm weeded and I'm stirring chocolate into a little kid cup with milk in it.
I used to, I used to do straw stuff where you like spindle up the straw and make it like spirally.
Oh yeah.
Spirals on the top.
Oh, the paper on the top.
Yeah,
Yes.
Just you find little ways to make things fun. Kids sit at a table. You take all the steak knives away.
Yeah, sure.
You push the silverware further out. How many parents, and this is long before, fucking decades before I had a child, that they would go, I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
And you realize that, I don't want your kid stabbing anybody because I know that they're a little kid and they're going to throw everything on the floor anyway.
Yeah, and if they
take
get
all
a steak,
the sugar caddies and move everything out of the way because the first thing they're going to grab is whatever they get their hands on. Right, and they dump it over.
Yeah.
But
if the kid gets a steak, I'll say, and you know what, Mom? I'm going to have the chef cut the steak up so they, so you don't have to do it. You could eat your food when it comes. You don't have to cut your kid's steak.
That's even further. I've never seen a kid get a steak, but okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I've just never actually came across that. Honestly, I'm trying to think about it.
Or like if
I've
a
ever
kid,
seen a child get a steak.
If a kid is like, "Can I have another soda?" I'll be like, "That's fine with me. It's up to Mom. Mom, can you have another soda?"
Yeah.
Because sometimes Mom doesn't want the kid drinking 2 sodas.
Yeah. That's when we used to think. That is also a false time when we thought that sugar made kids hyper. It's a total false fact. It doesn't. It doesn't do anything different than it does anyone else. A child is automatically hyper.
Yeah, they are.
Adults are automatically mellow, and the sugar makes no difference. It really doesn't. Like scientifically and physically, it makes no difference. But we thought that, and I think we thought it because kids are rambunctious. They're children. They're like a puppy. Puppies don't get sugar and soda,
and they're maniacs,
and they're fucking insane, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't really matter whether it's that puppy or your 4-year-old. They're gonna do crazy shit they're not supposed to. Yeah. And the mother dog is supposed to stop them from wandering off, and the mother of the human is supposed to stop them from throwing all the fucking shit on the floor.
It's a shame mothers and fathers don't parent their children.
Not at a restaurant though, because I think that's automatically part of the I paid for this seat, right? I paid for this night off. I don't have to clean. I don't have to do. I know,
but you don't have to educate your child how to behave in public.
Courtesy, yeah. There's a certain amount of etiquette that is lost, but that goes right back to the salad fork thing, man.
I mean, when I was a kid, I wouldn't. If I took the sugar caddy and flipped it upside down, my
no
mom
way.
would have smacked me.
There's no way. Hell yeah. And I would have had to clean it up myself personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then apologize to the waitress. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's what the difference is that we were grown into it. The understanding of respect of no matter who that person was, like there shouldn't, and then this goes back to like I said, the gender, the race, the age. It doesn't matter who they are. It just matters that you disrespected another person who has to do something. Understand, put yourself in their shoes. Which goes back to picking strawberries and everybody working in the restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are certain things that we can't force everybody. It's like, okay, you have to wait tables for a year, you have to work on a farm for a year, and you have to be an eye surgeon for a year. I'm like, what?
I think
talk about the blind.
I think the latter is a little more dangerous, but
but
yes, I understand your point.
I mean, but there are certain things we all should have to do, like service or work.
Sure. Yeah. What do you think? What happens if you don't make your tips? Like, who do you complain to if you don't make your tips? Can you complain to your manager and be like, I didn't make enough tips today. I can't do this. What do I do? Or what happens if you complain to your manager that you didn't make enough and they have to make up the difference on?
Is this something that happens frequently with this server? Or this server does a dynamite job And then
All
one
right,
day,
I think the manager would know that by that point anyway. But
I mean, if somebody's
doesn't matter.
always making money,
Okay,
and one day they do poorly, they're not going to say anything to anybody. They're like, yeah, I had a bad day.
right, most people would. Now, let's say you do. Let's say you piss and moan, you throw a big, let's say, tantrum about this person gets a better section than me, and blah 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 blah. What do they do? Like, what does the management do?
It depends on the management.
Average. What do you think they would do? I'm asking you personally. What do you think they would do? Have you ever put in a situation? Because I've seen it. I've never been put in a situation because I got the good sections because I was a good fucking waiter.
I mean, you could put me in the parking lot and I'll make money. I mean, it doesn't matter.
But usually you get degraded to a crappier section, smaller tables, 2 tops only, no large tables.
If you do a good job, you'll get a good section.
Right, but that's not always the case.
I never have really had a problem with that.
And then if you complain, you get hours cut.
Yeah.
You get left shifts. So again, even trying to, I'm looking at the human resources part where people are trying to better themselves, even though they suck. Sometimes they don't know they suck. Sometimes they don't know how to get better. No one's trained them. Maybe they have bad training.
Me as a manager, I would say, well, let's sit down. Why do you think
Right,
you're not
you
making
want
any money?
exactly. You want to sit down and speak to. So what do
happened
you think
tonight?
has happened? Yeah.
What happened
But
tonight?
how many managers are going to do that? I can't
Not
tell you
any.
more than 2. I can maybe 2 on my hand that I can remember ever actually educating me on better service and in a professional manner. Right. Most of them, they were either overworked, overstressed, or didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, you know what? I don't care. You can quit.
So do you know what?
And what'd you do? You end up quitting. You just go get another job. Right. You find another place. And you're like, I'll just do this somewhere else where they care. Right. Because if you don't give a shit about me, why should I care about your food that I'm selling? Yeah. That's why I think the integrity makes a difference. Why it goes back to a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have that talk to them. I'd ask them why they thought, and then the next shift that they work, my eyes and ears
right
will be
now
peeled
now
on
you're
them.
red flagged on them. Exactly.
Yeah. Now I want to watch.
Did you listen to what I said? Did you make any move for improvement?
Yeah.
You know, because even a small amount of improvement would be better than none at all. If you're going backwards, we're not. This isn't working.
You hear them giving the table attitude,
right?
Table 12 attitude.
Mm-hmm. You know, the best way I used to do it when I was having fun with my wife, we'd go out to eat, and I'd go to when I went to a restaurant and the waitress came in, I would pull a piece of paper out and I would just write stuff down and look around as I was working. She's going, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Absolutely nothing." They think I'm a secret employee. They think I'm one of those like
secret shoppers.
Yeah, the secret shoppers. And I'm gonna tell you right now, managers would come over to the table. Hi, folks, everything okay? You know, and I move the paper.
Hide it.
Yeah, and I'd be like, everything's good, doing a really good job. I like the decor. It looks nice in here. Thank you. And they're like, you guys are okay? Do you need a refill or anything? Like, I'm telling you, I did as a social experiment. And she'd be like, "You're so fucked up." And I'm like, I didn't do anything. I didn't tell them anything. They assumed, right? And especially chain restaurants, because that's the most.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Private establishments, then the guy at the local bar, you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
There's nobody coming in to secret shopper your shit.
Yeah.
He's like, order your fucking beer and wings and get the fuck out. I don't care.
Our chef makes such good food, you can't even get a reservation in this
Right,
place.
the other place like that. They fear food critics, but that's a whole different story. I'm just talking about crap.
Oh, like
but I'm
real
gonna tell you,
food
it used to work for I'd say a few years, about 3-4 years, and it was fun. Like I'd make a joke, and I was writing on stuff like, "Fuck you, babe. I'm getting better service than you." Right, and I'd show it to her, and she'd be like, "You're a dick." Like, well, nobody else saw it.
Now just tell me you're a social media influencer.
Right? Yeah.
Come up with some BS.
Pretend to record. Yeah. This is me. I'm okay. I hate something about podcasts. You can't see what I'm doing. I'm taking pictures of my food with selfies. Oh my god! I don't need to see your fucking pancakes on social media, man. Are delicious. Just fucking eat it.
Right. And these people that come up with these food reviews. I mean, do you know the guy, the pizza review guy, Dave Portnoy?
I don't pay attention to any of that.
I mean, a lot of these people are like, look at this bread. Look at this. It has this and this in it. I'll give it a 5.6.
Like, where do you get that number?
Okay.
Who are you?
I mean, describe the bread. Is it
right.
doughy?
You just put
Is
a number.
It soft?
Yeah.
I mean,
use your words.
Yeah.
Like a fucking adult, like a person. Like even a food critic would write a critique.
Right.
And a critique is involving in, like you said, all of the innuendos, the small things.
Yeah,
the
the sauce was
details.
semi-sweet, so it wasn't as it didn't have a lot of acidity, and
It
I
was
could
slightly
taste
cold, but
I
the
could
taste
taste the
was
basil,
good,
I
right.
could taste the oregano and the garlic and the sauce.
Yeah. Most people are uncultured swine.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, look at this guy.
They wouldn't know a bechamel if it slapped him in the face. A fucking onion piquette.
Yeah.
Piquette, piquant.
Look out,
Fucking French.
That bechamel's hot.
Yeah, so that covered that part.
Do you know what? Do you know what I love the best? The verbal tip.
The verbal tip?
you did such a great job tonight. You are really a good waiter. That's just the
Oh,
kiss
yeah,
of
yeah.
death.
For me, it was don't tell me, show me.
That's the kiss of death.
Oh, yeah.
Or do you know what else?
Don't tell me, show me.
Do you know what else is a kiss of death? Do you know? Look, I'm gonna leave you a really good tip.
Oh, no.
Fuck no, you're not. You
What
asshole.
if you tell me that, then you don't know what a good tip is.
Yeah.
You think a good tip is half of everyone else's average tip.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This
yeah.
this
I
guy
got you.
told me, he's like, I'm gonna leave you a very generous tip. That's what he said. Very generous. I was like, oh fuck me.
Even the way you said it sounds like you want to sell me the Brooklyn Bridge or some bullshit. Like,
That's like me walking up to a beautiful woman and be like, I'm gonna rock your world. She's like, yeah, you two pump chump bitch, get the hell out of my face. You're gonna rock my world.
you know, like I think one of the most significant regrets and downfalls to the industry today, it's less today, but only slightly. There's no PTO. There's no vacations. There's no
unless
sick
you
days.
work in a really good place.
And it does exist, but much less. The scale is not tipped enough. No. Like where it's more so because they
can replace you in a second.
I mean, you
they
work
don't care.
federal. Most jobs will pay you for Christmas Day. Have you ever gotten paid for a holiday on Christmas? In a restaurant, a holiday?
No.
Thanksgiving, Memorial Day,
No.
Labor Day. No, you worked.
Tipped or hourly? No.
Right, like there's no extra. Like, no. You don't get time and a half for working this day. But yet, people that work in a grocery store that work a Sunday get time and a half.
Time and a half, yeah.
What the fuck? Big WT fucking F. Because, again, something that was lost on the industry that it actually made me change businesses after a while. And once I did, I got a job where I got paid and the hours I worked were reflected on the amount of PTO I accumulated per week and per month. And it was like, I feel like I'm doing something. I feel like I'm getting something, not only just for working.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel appreciated.
Yeah. The perk, on the extra scale, because then
Like everybody else gets.
it's like, well, we offer you medical insurance, but if I pay the medical insurance, then I get half of everything that I make every week, and I can't afford it.
Yeah.
So then, how am I supposed to do that? It's like, well, we offered it. That's it. That's the answer.
Thanks. Yeah,
you know, like it's not even like it's actually affordable. It's really just like average. I could probably get the same thing from Blue Cross Blue Shield because I'm single. But no, you offer it because you pay a tiny percentage, or it's crap. You know? Yeah, it never worked. It never seemed to work. Yeah. Some of them did. Fridays had a good one. It was 70-30. They paid 70, you paid 30. That's pretty good. That's rare. And I'm saying rare. And you had to be full-time, 37 plus. Right. And, you know, you had to be after a year. There's a lot of stipulations, which is fine. You get that, you know, because you don't want just people starting off using it and then leaving. Right. But, yeah, very rare. And it was very discouraging, incredibly discouraging. Think about all the people that just, they can't take a day off, go see their kids on a Saturday and in a school play because they'll lose a Saturday. And what's a Saturday? It's your fucking money day, man. Can't lose a shift on a Saturday. You crazy? You know, I'd have to work 2 Saturdays to lose 1 Tuesday. And no one cares. They never cared. It's just the way it was. And it has changed, but not enough. Not enough.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I mean, look at it now. Like you talk about, like we were talking about minimum wage. You driven past the McDonald's or an Aldi's lately? See how much they're paying?
A lot.
Fucking ridiculous. $18, $21 an hour.
Yeah.
What?
Aldi's paying $20 an hour to work in the warehouse. Full benefits.
Fucking insane. When I worked at McDonald's, you know, I was 15, 16, 17. Right. Because I went to Bennigan's when I was roughly about 17 and a half, 18. $4.25 an hour. That was minimum wage back in 93.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then you look at and you're like they're not even paying minimum wage. Like, that's how bad that this industry has gotten, is the fact that after COVID, you can't even pay them $8 an hour. Even if it's more than minimum wage at $7.25, you can't pay them that because no one's going to work that. No one's going to do that. That's asinine. So we have to not only can't pay you $15 because they'll just do that somewhere else for a lot less work. Nope, we'll have to pay you $18, $20 an hour because it's the only incentive you can get for people to do it. Shit work, man. It sucks. But the money kind of will draw you, at least those people, back in.
Hey, $18 an hour?
Yeah. And McDonald's can fucking afford it. It's not like they can't.
Would you like fries with that?
Yeah.
So that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. Oh, here's a really good one. And it's a little risque. And, you know, that's not going to stop me. Do you think the service industry has a higher rate of sexual harassment, drug use, alcoholism, or any other demeaning factors of society?
Yes.
Yeah, there's no way to say it doesn't. It absolutely. I know. I lived it too.
I mean,
and you literally either have to be. It's either happening around you, you're the three, right? It either happens around you and you can't say anything because it's the way things are, which is generally how it was.
But most of the time, it's
what's happening
mutual.
to you, or you're the one doing it.
Right. Most of the time, I mean, back when we were younger,
it was relatively innocent, but still, to today's standards, would be considered appalling.
Oh yeah, you have to sign papers.
Oh
you have to you have to watch
send
the
you off to
videos.
HR. And I get it, and I think in a lot of ways it is good protection that we don't, because it was a. I mean, every cook had a criminal background.
Sure.
Right? Or was something, right? Yeah. Drug addled or records or something. For the most part. You can't say everyone.
And when the restaurant closed, everybody went to someone's house or something, and everybody was
or
smoking
you went
weed
to
and
another bar that was open, and then they gave. It was always something like that. And I would usually go for 5 minutes and then leave because I don't drink.
You get hooked up because you're in the biz.
Right, in the biz night or something. Yeah, and it's just the things I've seen people say to women and waitresses and thinking that they own them, that it's right. And I like to think that I was part of the future, the forthcoming thinking that none of that is right. No one should be spoken to that way. I got sexually harassed when I was at Perkins.
You mean not Denny's?
Oh yeah, not Denny's.
It don't matter.
But this was a different
anymore?
one, and it doesn't matter. I was the manager, and one of the waitresses, she grabbed my ass, and I was married.
One of the waitresses?
Yeah, right on the line, in front of other people, and I turned to her, and I was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Are you insane?" I said,
"And you're a manager?
You're coming to the office?" Yeah, and I brought the female manager into the office, and I wrote her up for sexual harassment, and she's going, "I don't understand why it's such a big deal." Now, this is the girl saying it. It's almost always the opposite.
Of course.
And then people are like, I don't know why you made a big deal. I don't know why you're not making it a big deal, because it can't be one-sided. It can't be they complain when guys harass them, but I'm a married man. I don't want you touching me. Matter of fact, I don't want anybody touching me in our life. Right. This is personal space.
And when you grabbed my ass, you were testing the water. What are you going to do next?
That's exactly what it was, because the first time she did it. Now, this wasn't the first time. The first time she did it, I had to let it go because she brushed up against me, right? Where it was like you clear
benefit of the doubt,
right? Back of the hand, right? There's plenty of room. You could have chose to back up, but no, you didn't. The second time, there was front of the hand with squeeze. You can't, it's discernible. You know what you did. Yeah. It was intentional. And again, just like you said, there was a lead up to it. Yeah. Now, you let the first one go, and then because it could be misconstrued in a different way. Listen, I'm not taking that out of context. But no, after that, I'm not having it. Because then what if you don't? Then you get stuck. You're the aggressor, and then you get stuck being a liar, or they turn it around on you. No, and
you have to nip it in the bud.
I'm just as vulnerable as you are.
Yeah.
Right? And but it was the only time that ever happened. I mean, because when I was young, I don't care. You didn't care. The waitress grabbed my ass. I'm like, let's hang out later. Yeah. You know? But
well, I mean, when you're 17 and you're a server and you guys are flirting and you're all doing the same thing.
But there's a certain degree. I mean, I wear a wedding ring. I have a wife. It's been clearly noticed. I've never made any kind of positional, move on anyone or even verbally. But it did happen once. Again, every other time you just, didn't matter. But it does happen, yeah. But yeah, man, we've seen, and that's only one thing. Oof, man, I've seen some terrible, terrible things.
Yeah, I have. I mean, it's a grab-ass business, especially back in the day, you know. But, I mean, everybody was stressed out.
Walk-ins and kitchens and freezers, all kinds of things happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this was the big factor in a lot of the percentiles I went through before. Like during and after the pandemic, hundreds of thousands of service restaurant industry people literally left the business, walked out on jobs, and never ever went back. Like you don't realize that number because it's a lot, like hundreds of thousands across the entire United States. I mean, that's why you saw all those places asking, now hiring Indeed of help. 18 an hour. They're like, we don't care. We need people. We have to pay them exorbitant amount of money to come back. And those people that left don't come back. They get a new fresh
generation.
Right, a new generation now that expect that's the pay.
Yeah.
Because that's it, man. I didn't work there when it was $11.50.
Yep.
And I would never work here for $11.50. So you're gonna pay me this, and I'll do the work, and it's still shit, but we do it,
Yeah, and I'll do a bad job of it.
Or it doesn't matter what job you do, because even if you get fired, the last job I had, I was getting paid $18 an hour. Yeah. So now you have something to put down. at that point. But all that aside, it shows where the pandemic and the service industry, how hard it did get hit, whether you notice it or not.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's just and rough statistics, but that's when you think about 100,000 people. I mean, there's how many people in America? 350 million.
Yeah, about
roughly. Let's just say 350 million people.
About.
I mean, 100,000 is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, but then
But
that 350,
throughout all of these,
that 350 million people, how many of them are 15 and under?
Right. Okay,
how many of them
Not
are
factoring in
70 and
children
over that aren't?
overage. Sure.
And how many of those people are educated enough or have a vocation where they never would work in that business?
Yeah, they
in the
wouldn't
first
have
place.
even thought about it anyway. Yeah. I mean, look what it did. DoorDash and Uber Eats and all those the delivery companies exploded.
Yeah.
I jumped on the bandwagon. I'll do that because I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't even half the time. I just leave the food at your door, take a picture
of it. And,
yeah, they send me a little ding, and then the money is right in my account, and I leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, that sounds good. I'll stand at the restaurant for 5 minutes, wait for that fucking DoorDash food because I don't have to deal with none of that stuff going on back there. You put it on a little shelf under the little A where the name is, and I take it and I leave. It's fucking great.
Yep.
Yeah. But you can see how it did it in itself. It deleted one and created another. That's why I think, like, no matter how we look at it, robots will never take our jobs. Something else will create and replace whatever is taken away. And the hardest part for those people is just not, like, accepting the fact that this is gone. There is that. You don't do that anymore. We do this. Yeah, but I want to know. Remember, I've done this before. No, we do this now. Yeah, but I know. Get out of here.
Yeah.
You don't. We do this, and that's how you change society. Yeah. All right. So, what do you think? What do you think the solution is?
The solution to what?
Like the general complaints. Like, okay, I mean, have you stayed in a restaurant for over 5 years?
Yeah, once.
Right. You had to think about it, and you only picked one. So the idea is that you're jumping, which most restaurant people do. You're looking for the BBD, the bigger, better deal, the better tips, the better clientele, or the money's good, but the location isn't, or the distance to travel is bad, but the money is good. So you're always fighting some kind of happy medium to make it work, right? So what's the solution? Like, that's why I started with thinking, should we pay servers a straight wage and make tips what they were? Like, I don't have an opinion either way because I've been out too long.
I have to get $20 an hour.
Okay, so there's a number. This is what I'm trying to say, and I'm asking you personally. We're not solving the crisis of America.
And
here.
just because you're paying me $20 an hour doesn't mean you have the right to weed me. Don't do it.
Well, no, but that would just reflect. They wouldn't, because that in itself directly affects their business, not you. Because now it doesn't matter whether you're weeded, because I already make $20 an hour. It matters when you're weeded, when you don't want to get good tips.
Exactly.
So they wouldn't do it. It would be in their best interest not to. See, I would understand that.
See, that they can never do it, because suppose you get I'm getting $5 an hour to wait tables,
right?
And I'm getting tipped. So I'm giving very good service on my table because I'm relying on their tip money.
Right.
If I'm getting paid $20, $25 an hour, I don't give a shit how good your service is.
Well, but
I'm getting $25 an hour anyway.
But I think the restaurant owner or provider would care more because of the direct reflection of it on them, knowing that fact.
But then people that never served, they would be like, wow, $25 an hour, they're not good at serving.
Right, but then you base it off of experience. So you don't have to pay them 20, you pay them 17. And you say, because you're new, you know you have to learn our ways, and if you pass, I've been given tests when I worked at Carrabba's. They gave you a test.
I get a test everywhere I work.
Like a menu test and these like monthly tests, and sometimes you should know what the fuck you're doing. You should know what's going on, what's what the wine is, or what's available, or things like that. Make people work for it. It's not just to go to work, slap on an apron, and write some stuff down on a pen. They don't even do that anymore. They use fucking tablets.
So yeah, a lot of places do. But I mean, if I know I'm going to make $160 hourly for a shift, yeah, I'll give okay service. I'm not going to bend over backwards and kiss their ass.
Yeah, but if there's a tip added to it, like because your service is better than those that don't, that did exactly what you just said. That's what I said. Going back to what tips used to be. Gratuity, extra, gratification. Not like, we're not telling you to tip. We're saying if you feel that we did a better job and you feel like, I think you, again, gave that person a choice. I think they're more inclined.
First we would have to experiment and see how does the general population respond to that.
But
Do
experimenting
they
with
still
stuff
tip?
and they have been. And actually,
With experiment, I mean just do it. And
well,
then say,
I was going to mention it.
Are people still tipping?
The states that did
Yes.
do away with it, and some restaurants changed, a lot of them went back to tipping.
Yeah.
Because what ended up happening is they would hire people, and then those people would realize that they weren't making enough with places that made tips, and they would quit. 30 to 40% of the people they hired quit and left for a place with tips. So they actually reversed and switched back. So it's like we tried, and then it failed, and then it, and it's a difficult thing to test because who does it affect? It affects the business. Like not really the waiter. The waiter go gets another job. He doesn't care. But that guy, the pizza, the restaurant owner now has to make up for the lost money or make up for the game money or, training.
Here's another good example, like teachers. Teachers don't get paid a lot of money.
No.
So why do they do it?
Yeah, because, they're like the animal people because they love it or they
love it. They love the children, and it's not about the money. It's about teaching. It's about
the action.
Okay, now suppose you tripled teacher salaries. People that don't love children don't give a shit about education. They would become teachers.
Yeah, like
just
you
for the
have
money.
Great grades, but you suck with people. You have the worst social skills. It's like, wow, it's great money. So your great money and bad social skills are now rubbing off on my children.
Yeah. Do you look? Yeah. This is your first
That's
grade.
A good
this
point.
is your first grade class. Do you love all these kids? Do you care about them?
Yeah.
Fuck them. I get $90 an hour.
Ain't my fucking kids.
Well, what about Larry? Which one is Larry? Is he the fat one that I think is gay? I mean, they don't care.
Yeah, that's the one with the bad hair that picks his nose all day.
I thought his name was Stinky.
Yeah, that's a good. I have to be honest. That's a good point. It's a rough point, but good and funny too. And I wasn't looking for an answer. I was just curious to what your solution might be. Because I mean, if there was a solution, we would have done it. Yeah. They would care more, but they don't. It's just, and they know the politicians and all the bureaucrats and legislations. They just you don't have to work in this. You don't have to work in a restaurant.
But you don't have to work at all. You could be homeless if you want.
Right. I mean, like
you don't have to do anything.
There's a lot of things we don't have to do. Yeah. But that's the idea: is that we don't have to change just because you don't have to do this. Yeah. It's one thing if they're forcing you.
Yeah, right now, we're surfing a fine line, and right now it works fairly well.
Yeah,
I don't see too many people. It hasn't
crashed and burned too bad, so at this point we're just gonna keep going.
Wherever I wait tables, I make sure I pick a pretty decent place, and I always make good money.
Yeah. So. But I think it's sad because my point with you don't want to do that. You want to work in one place so that you can get used to the food, get used to the employees, get used to the customers, and be able to have like paid time off and vacations and a real life. Because restaurant business is not a real life for most people. It is this. It's like the earth and the moon, right? We could live on the moon, but you can't go outside. You can't breathe fresh air. Yeah. There's no wind. There's no animals, right? But you can live. But it's a different life. It doesn't change, just moon and earth, right? Service industry, everything else. Yeah. It is very similar. And when I say service industry, it really is a large encompass of all kinds of, tipped industries. It doesn't just have to be servers or restaurants, but they just take up a majority of it. I can't really think of too many that are solely tip.
Valets.
Yeah, that'd be one of them. But is that a future?
No.
Why?
Because, how long can you run?
No.
You're going to get tired of it.
Not even that. Look at the cars.
Oh, yeah, they'll park themselves.
They'll fucking park themselves. Yeah. And that's way closer than the robot that serves you your food. Yeah. But even that we have. Yeah. So if I punched my order in the table, never saw a server, and a little robot, a person put it on the robot, but the robot brought it to me, and I took it off. You literally took a person out. Food runners are a thing of the past. Like, if you could afford a robot in a restaurant, you would just get it. Because why would I need a fucking food runner? This little robot, I punch in table 12. It goes to table 12. I just put the stuff on there. The people just take it off.
But me personally, like, when I go out to eat, is to enhance your mood. It's an experience. I want to talk to somebody.
I get it.
That's me. I like the interaction.
I get it, but you're also part of a
feel
different
special,
era.
like people are taking care of you.
And there will always still be those. They're not going to go away. There'll just be less of them. They'll be eclectic, I think, in the food world of the future. There'll be still that, that place uses real people. Or something of that sort, like the ratio. I look at it as Amazon robots, Amazon warehouse robots to workers, right? Every year, the Amazon robot number goes up and the Amazon worker number goes down. Yeah. And it will. until the number is ridiculously low because you're never going to take it away. But that's the way I look at it.
So
there's going to be a ratio.
Then? Basic universal income?
I can only hope. I mean, you know how much I think that is something that has to be done. But
eventually, yeah.
Yes, but all that aside, it's just the idea that there'll be a ratio. There will still be human-rated things. Like, how can a robot work in a food truck?
No, it can't.
But then again, you ever see the food truck that cooks pizza and the guy drives? It literally cooks the pizza in the truck as you drive to deliver the pizza. So there, you are the middleman. You cut out both ends, and you literally put yourself in a truck and drove around cooking and delivering pizzas.
That's actually pretty cool.
Right. When you think about it, like you have to, and it's extreme. It's not incredibly popular. Obviously, these are going to be locational, but there are solutions. I mean, Japan had one of the first automated McDonald's, and it was almost a decade ago, where it was literally 3 people worked there. All they needed was a person to fill up the machines, and it just spits out the food and sends them out, and they pay. And in Japan, they pay with everything with credit cards. I mean, credit card fees are a thing. I don't even understand why we're still fucking paying. Why do credit card fees go up when everything we do with nowadays is credit card related? It should be going down.
It should.
That should be eliminated because before it was like a luxury to have a credit card. Now it's a goddamn necessity. Yeah. So the idea of actually, if I use cash and then like the cash to credit at gas stations, and my kid was asking me the other day, why is it less? I'm like, because it's like they don't have to pay the credit card fee, which is stupid. Why are they paying a credit card fee? The credit card company is getting the money already.
And the computers don't. No human being is getting paid a salary to do this.
Yeah, to look through numbers anymore. This is all computers. So somehow they held on to this fucking little transactional fee that actually can hurt people, because if every time you run a transaction, it's so and so amount of money. Yeah. The more you do, the more they spend. It's crazy.
But you know what? Somebody's getting that money, and in 1 year, he could send 6 of his kids to college.
Fucking motherfucker.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know.
And that's it. I kind of ran through. I mean, I went through, you know. So the only question I had left was, do you think future automation and robotics will shift or alter the industry? I kind of touched on it, but I was curious what your thoughts were.
I think it'll of course affect.
Because I don't know how much you follow. I mean, there are literal restaurants where they cook like wok, like they saute, stir fry, and there's no people. There's chutes and food and saute pans, and the little robot sautés, stir fries the food, puts it in a container, gets sent out hot, delicious, and seasoned, and you pay $7 for it. And no one touched anything. There was no person anywhere. Right. And that's absolutely plausible.
So you don't have to...
Better than ramen.
So you don't have to pay 6 cooks $140 an hour times 8 hours a day.
Right.
So does that savings get passed on to me?
Right. No taxes, right?
Does that saving get passed on to me in the food?
Well...
Or do I pay the same amount?
In a way, it depends. I would say that, yes, they would reflect the savings, but... In the beginning, we couldn't, because robotics is expensive now until it becomes commercialized, just like everything else. The first cell phone, the first electric car, the first of anything that rich people own before the general public get it, because it's super expensive. But now we made a whole bunch of them. So now it's less. So now we all benefit, but the benefit is still small in comparison.
It's like medicine. Like if you develop a medicine, the first pill costs you $180 million to make. Right. The next one costs you 2.5 cents.
Right. Because it took that long to create the thing, to get it perfect, to get it testing, to all the trials and blah, blah, blah. Right. So then everything after is, and they're making up for it. Sure. That's a good example. Very good. Yeah. And I think it's very similar in a way with all technology, not just robotics. But I would love to see the day that I could walk into a fully I want to taste what the robot made. Because they're not going to have flair or flavor or understanding or opinion. They just have a program.
Yeah. So they can't taste their food.
Right. They don't have to. Because if they put the exact same amount that was given to them in a recipe and done exactly as it was supposed to, timed and sauteed and heat and variable, that's what a recipe is.
But then again, there are intangibles. Like you as a person, suppose you're cooking and you're like, yeah, you need to make a chicken Caesar salad. You go into your ran out, whatever, you pick up a piece of chicken and you're like, no, this is no good. This is bad. It smells, it's slimy, I'm going to throw it out. The machine doesn't know that. Hey,
but it would be working off a frozen product.
Okay, but I mean, you could still have something
pre-frozen product. Now
I don't want
that's
frozen.
probably not, and that's a really good question. I never really thought about.
What about a rotten vegetable? Or,
yeah. Again, mostly frozen products, but that's a question for a lawyer in the future. But which there'll be some sort of, there will be some kind of legislation put behind it where we have to, because again, this is not how we used to do it. We do this now. So now you better have
a new set of laws.
You better have some new set of laws. It's going to be the same concept of the moon and space. And you're going to have all these new things because, we're changing. We're making change. You can't just do the last fucking 100 years worth of the same shit. So that's a good question. I never thought of that. And that's great. I'm glad I asked because I was curious.
I mean, what if you want a steak? Steak this thick? Steak this thick? I want it medium rare. How is the machine going to know how long?
Well, it would temperature. It would put it could still, we'd still put a thermometer as we would in a restaurant. We may poke it with our finger and know what that feeling feels like. But a temperature would give you an exact indication. It is, 57 degrees. Oh, that's rare. Yeah. Or that's medium rare. Maybe 43 degrees would be rare because it's colder. That's all. That's all it is a temperature difference. So there's still a way. Like I said, science, there's always a way. But can you do it? Can you do it every time? And can you do it enough that the money justifies making this machine that does it all the time? And then you're still going to have somebody clean the machines. I mean, there's no way. I mean, then eventually something's going to get gunky or spill something.
Yeah, of course.
Or fucking one of the machines is going to try to flare and spin the pan. The stuff's going to fly out. Hot fucking broccoli hitting people in the face.
And the other machine is going to go, stop showing off, asshole.
Yeah. If you have that more, look up automated food restaurant. Like some of them are really impressive. That one with the pizza, it's just a van with an oven and an automation, and it's amazing. I was actually really impressed. The guy just drives it around. He basically follows a Google Map thing. They order it. It all gets automated, done through the system, put into the thing. It cooks the fucking thing. All you do is take it out, put it in the box, and you bring it to the door.
That's cool.
You literally took out like everything.
That last thing I said, stop showing off, asshole. That just makes me think. And then we could close on this if you want. But like working in the kitchen, the things that people that are on the cook line say to each other, the cursing. I mean, you can't do that in any other profession. You can't be like in a surgery, doing surgery.
No.
And you're like, scalpel.
I always did kind of wonder.
Bitch, give me the scalpel, you fucking donkey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come here, I'll go to patient on you. Give me that scalpel.
But I also don't know how it is nowadays, though. Like, have they nixed it? Is it much less? I mean, I don't know what it's like to be in a kitchen for almost 20 years.
Yeah, it's still stressful.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, it's not
kitchen
nightmares,
away, but how it's handled.
Gordon Ramsay,
I've been threatened by the one chef that threatened to fucking. He said something, or he cursed at me, and he got real nasty. And we were the only two working, and he was fucking stressed out and weeded. And I fucking took my apron off. I picked up a knife, and I was like, "You ever fucking say that? You say anything like that to me, I'll fucking stab you." Or you know what? Even better, I'll just leave. You want to do all this shit by yourself? And he just looked at me, and he was like, "No, I'm sorry, Dave. Just put the apron back on. Let's just finish out. I apologize." You got to be humbled up at that point because it's stressful, and it is. And it's not like, don't think I don't understand. I see you fucking sweating all over the food and fucking huffing and puffing. I get it, you fat bastard. But don't talk to me like that, you piece of shit. Yeah. But it's funny because you wouldn't have said that 10 years before that. God, no. Dude, are you crazy? Can't say that to the chef. See, but not if he fucking talks to me like that. This guy used to work for Donald Trump. This was here in Florida.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I used to work for Trump at his place in Largo. He showed me pictures of him and Trump and gold, silver, and the whole nine. And I felt like turning around and be like, you'd fucking tell that you'd say the same thing to Trump when you talk like that in his kitchen?
No.
I fucking don't think so. Right? Just because you work here don't mean you can talk to people that way. But yeah, that was when the time I had to stand up for myself was. That's when I started standing up for myself. Like, those days are over. I dealt with those days when I was a kid and we got walked on in kitchens and beat up and abused and we used to burn each other and snap towels and I mean we can go on for days.
Snapping
we
towels.
We poison each other's food, not poison, but like put hot sauce in the straws and the drinks and
Dude, I would take like a ramekin, like a plastic ramekin with a lid,
and put it at the
liquid
bottom.
smoke. And just put the straw inside, so that there was no soda, there was no tea, just straight liquid smoke. Yeah.
That's why you get your own drinks.
Yeah, dude, I would get so mad.
So that's not bad. I just wanted to touch base. It was something that I had watched a couple of. I watched a special and I did some research on the numbers and realizing it. And just I've been out of the business so long. When you spend so long in the business, you still think about it. Like, 'cause the memories don't go away. You can just remember how it was, but you know how.
No, you mean the PTSD doesn't go away.
Yeah, I guess it would. Honestly, it would be considered some sort of post-traumatic stress, because I've been in
it's-
kitchens where it was 137 degrees and we had to leave, heat exhaustion. I've seen guys pass out. I've seen people get rushed to the hospital. One guy had a heart attack, and I'm pretty sure it's because he was fucking overworked and overwhelmed. And it's like, no one cares. They just replace you. It's like you just carried out, and another person just goes in.
Yeah, they're doing CPR and someone's stepping over.
How many more of you do you have back there? Yeah, it's pretty good. PTSD.
How many more do you have back there? 12.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah, you had a lot of insightful things today, Rob. You're very insightful.
Yeah, thank you.
Very impressed. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening to us bullshit about the restaurant business. And hey, man, if you have any questions or comments or stories of your own.
Yeah, and if you think we did a good job today and you'd like to tip us, our Venmo is on our website.
Oh man, I'm just curious. If you didn't tip us last time, was there something that we were doing that we could do better?
Yeah, was our podcast not up to par?
Yeah, I mean, and if it's not, we don't fucking care.
Yeah, that's right.
But thanks for listening. No.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
Later.